I proclaim this the summer of sim racing. Oh, my fly's open. It really is. And that's for an intro. Hello guys, long overdue Q&A session which I have not prepared to increase the chance of making a fool of myself. We have the printed goods again. A glass of water. Before we dive in, today's topic will be the other sims. The new sims, and that sort of stuff. No idea what I'm going to say. I haven't been drinking, so there's a chance it will be somewhat coherent. This is straight to camera, so the audio could be a bit off, and I've hastily put together a stack of stuff, including on your left, right, left, Einstein, the sim racer, I bet you didn't know that, and of course my favorite little tile given to me by Remco Hitman. A screaming tire is a happy tire. Yes, how true is that? And of course, Grand Prix Legends and stock car. Oh, I see a problem. I can fix that right away. Problems. We haven't even started. Yes, that's more like it. We have to put an extreme badge on that. I'm behind. I'm always behind with videos and everything. There we are. Stock car extreme. Extreme. Yeah. Something tells me I'm not in the correct mood for serious Q&A stuff. Hey, well, there we go. One of the questions last time was, what do you do besides sim racing? And in the heat of the moment, because I was talking about sim racing, you tend to forget about everything else that exists, so I didn't say much. Actually, I quite like a couple of things. I think I mentioned I did some drumming, which is a long time ago, I'm not very good at. But I quite like to cook, actually. Yeah, in the kitchen, you know, with all the ingredients and stuff. Really like that. Even baked some cookies the other day, which were quite nice. I even get up early together with my girlfriend so we can make some proper food for the day. It's a good way to wake up, and it's fun when the stuff you produce in the kitchen is actually quite good tasting and all that. I was a bit into photography as well. The thing is, everything pales in comparison to the sim racing stuff, but photography is one of those sim racing things actually where some people prefer the complexity and the new stuff that's all super advanced. But just like with photography, quite a few people, they go out and they buy an SLR with lenses, but that doesn't mean their pictures are any good. And that's a bit the same with sim racing. You can have the latest technology, that doesn't mean the sim will be necessarily better. And my camera isn't very good, and I'm not a very good photographer, so the analogy stops there because my pictures aren't that great. But anyway, it's more with photography, it's more the photographer than the camera that he uses, and I think that's a good analogy with sim racing. I also used to be in the sort of homemade audio speaker stuff until, well, a long time ago actually. I made my own speakers, which I sold last year. I quite liked listening to music. Time fails me at the moment, so I just got a pair of Sennheiser headphones that are acceptable. But I was quite into the DIY audio stuff, and at some point I would like to make my own speakers again. But that's a whole different topic. I've also been busy with a new PC. Ooh. Yeah, got the parts in a box for a couple of months already, because I wanted to make my own case for it, which is never a small project. So over the last months I've been developing and doing all sorts of stuff with a custom stainless steel, brushed stainless steel mini gaming case. And if all goes well, in a couple of months there should be a big video explaining how I made that case and how much I managed to fit inside. So I'm still looking for a clever name. If you've got a witty, funny name for a small gaming system. So, well, I had some suggestions myself, such as TIT, Tiny ITX System, Tower, sorry, Tiny ITX Tower. Yeah, or then if you make a second edition, it could be the TITS. Get it? Oh boy. That sort of more engineering stuff, I used to like that. Do that every now and then, side project that isn't sim racing or pedals and that sort of stuff. The reason this takes so long, and I'm rambling already, is just being quite busy with real life stuff. However, I do not forget about my audience, that's one thing. Oh, I'm too cheesy in a mood today. Let's have a sip of water and hope things improve. Questions about other sims. I got asked quite a lot. So for example, there's Devon Till. He asks, would you do mods for Assetto Corsa like you did for R-Factor? Keep up the great videos, smiley face. And there's another guy, hey, I understand you work for Ryza, but would you ever consider bringing your NSX to Assetto Corsa? From Becking. And there's more from Richard Sung. How do you look at Assetto Corsa? Are you going to mod for Assetto Corsa? Then Isam Ale, hey, that's clever. He asks, hey, have you experimented with R-Factor 2 yet? Can you guess why no one has released a game with it yet? Well, a lot of questions, and another guy here, and Anthony Stewart asks, in the long run, what sim do you think will come out on top in the modding community? And Paul asks, hey, will R-Factor 2 ever see your work? And NC Labs, we've seen him before, he asks, hey, what do you think about Assetto Corsa? And then I'm Neff asks, hey, have you ever tried Project Cars? If so, what did you think of it? And Jason asks, hey, what are your thoughts on the problems at Simbin, which are no longer problems, because this is a very old gathering of questions. So we've got a few names here, R-Factor 2, Assetto Corsa, oh, that's the middle finger, sorry. Project Cars, all those new sims. No mention of iRacing here actually, but what do I think about the new sims? And I have not prepared anything, so let the rambling commence. Well, first of all, major respect and you know, admiration for everybody who makes a sim, a game, whatever. The work that's involved, the long hours, and with no real idea if you're ever gonna see any money out of it. So anyone who makes a racing game, or what game whatsoever, doesn't matter what game it is, and my hats off to that, because you take a big risk and you may not be rewarded for it. So that's absolutely true, and it goes for all the sims. Which means that unlike what you see on the internet these days, that you have to be against most things and be angry and have arguments over stuff that nobody in the real world seems to care about. I'm certainly not one of those people. I don't want to argue about Project Cars or Assetto Corsa or its realism or that sort of stuff. Hats off to all the development teams making them, and it's good that we have choice in the in sims. So that's very important. I really wanted to say that first. Let's start with alphabetical. That's Assetto Corsa, for example. I tried that. You may have seen a video which must have been 2 years ago by now, I think, a long time ago. I haven't touched it since, really. I am now, of course, making a new PC and will be able to run it better. But there are some issues with direct drive force feedback wheels. Somehow there's a sort of a latency in the force feedback, making it quite difficult to drive. And it's interesting because it's one of the sims that runs its force feedback at a higher refresh rate. So I think it runs at 333 Hertz, which is very quick compared to, say, Game Stockar, which runs at 90 Hertz. So you would imagine that oscillation in force feedback should be non-existent because it updates very quickly. But somewhere in there is a delay of some sort, or I don't know what it is. It could just be with my wheel. So I'm not blaming anything, and I'm not certain what is the problem, if there is any. But it could be interesting here because you would think that a higher refresh rate for your force feedback would reduce oscillation, but you can have 1,000,000 Hertz force feedback if there is a delay of 1/10 of a second somewhere, and even 1,000,000 Hertz is pointless because it could just as well be 10 Hz almost, as it's always 1/10 behind. So there's already more to the physics and all that than just simple numbers like the physics frequency or the force feedback frequency. It's all very complicated what you do with how you work with it. And well, regarding Assetto Corsa, I quite admire them for getting all those nice licenses, proper BMWs and Ferraris and a couple of Lotai, and also all the other stuff that's coming. So that's my hats off to that. I don't know how they managed to get that. I guess being Italian and having a very slick Armani suit on and talking the right language to all the PR departments, or just begging. I don't know what their technique is. So that's great for licensed cars and laser scan tracks. I like that so much. Drove Imola in Assetto Corsa, for example. It's just, hey, this is how it's supposed to be. All the banking is correct. All the cameras are correct. It's a joy. So I quite like that. But it's a little hard to drive with the force feedback being as it is, and being so busy with the hardware side of the business. Heusinkveld engineering there, and of course a bit of Riser Studios. There's no time to do it properly really, and that goes for modding as well. So I cannot mod for Assetto Corsa because the time required to get to the bottom of the engine and get good results from it, the time isn't there. So no, I haven't done that. And well, we're not really alphabetical anymore, but R-Factor 2, I sat down with their physics guy, Michael Borda, very kind Aussie dude, and we went over the tire model together, and I just don't, I give up as soon as I see a model of such complexity, and theoretically it could be better and more advanced than something like Game Stocker, what we use, but man, there are so many variables still that you have to control, and it's also not transparent. It's very, oh no! What's this character called in the comics? Like in DuckTales, there's the inventor guy, and the inventor guy has this light bulb. Is it just light bulb? Well, he just fell. Oh no! Let's put him back on, and you can predict at what time it will fall off again. Stay on. Oh, it's useless. Oh no. Wait. Can I do something else? Yes. See, that's my light bulb in action. Alternative solutions. So I did sit down with Michael and looked at the physics engine, but so many stuff still to manually input, and that will affect the behavior, but so difficult to understand and so time consuming that it's just really unlikely that I would ever work with R-Factor 2 at this stage, because it's not how I work. I've made a video for Riser Studios about the tire model that we use and how it works, so I suggest you check that one out. And but you know, amazing respect for Terence, the physics guy at ISI, for being able to come up with this stuff, and his drivetrain and suspension physics are just amazing. This guy is super intelligent, and that's actually where I'm 100% sure it's more advanced in every way pretty much than, for example, Assetto Corsa, which has a more simple physics engine regarding suspensions and multi-body physics and tire model. But like I said with photography, it's not necessarily the camera that's important, it's the guy making the picture and how he puts everything in shade and light and that sort of stuff. It's all the composition about that, and that's the same with sim racing. So I'm sure that Assetto Corsa isn't quite as complicated as R-Factor 2, but it's got great licenses, and even with a simpler physics model you can do better. And I think with Game Stocker we are sort of in the same boat, although in parts it's more advanced regarding multi-body physics than Assetto Corsa is, but again, that doesn't really matter. It's having the right guys doing the job, and Aris from Assetto Corsa does a great job there, but not enough time to try it. And Terence Groening from ISI, hats off for his amazing work. I don't know how he manages to do that in real time. It would be a good time for this guy to drop again, because that's how amazing it is. And the same goes for the guys at iRacing, of course, Dave Kammer. These are true wizards, really. But yeah, let's see. So that was regarding modding for Assetto Corsa. No, not anytime soon. It's just not realistic considering the time. Let's see, Richard. And well, yeah, of course, if you would do mods for Assetto Corsa, the graphics engine would be a bit more advanced than the ISI engine that we use in Extreme, Stocker Extreme. But doesn't necessarily mean that the physics will be better. And I guess if I would be totally convinced or super interested in one of the new sims, I wouldn't be able to stop, and I would mod for it anyway. But I'm not convinced enough by them, and I'm an old guy, so I'm probably just resisting change. But hey, that's how it goes. And Ismail also asked, can you guess why no one has released a game with it yet, it being R-Factor 2? I'm not sure if they sell it yet. I don't think they do. I'm not sure, perhaps they do. But it's going to be very difficult with such a complicated engine to create many cars quickly, which is one of the things that's important with well, the community. They want more content, more cars, more tracks. So you have to be able to pump out a good quality relatively quickly. And you do need a sort of a physics engine that's geared, hey, that's a physics joke, geared towards being easy to work with. So yeah, so perhaps that's also a reason, I don't know. In the long run, what sim do you think will come out on top in the modding community? There doesn't have to be one on top, I guess. There's room for more sims, and there's no need for one to be emerge ahead of the other. That's I don't see why. So, have you ever tried Project Cars? That's actually interesting because it's just been released. That must have been a major undertaking, doing it for PC and PlayStation and Xbox. A lot of work there, and a lot of content as well, and a lot of controversy and a lot of internet bitching, which I don't partake in. As I said before, hats off for the major project that they managed. That they managed to finish and wrap up. And despite some sim racers complaining and others loving it, that's what you get when you release something. It might appear to be a little bit more aimed towards the casual or more casual racer. Doesn't have the best triple screen support, for example, and with openly sort of more into the quantity of the tracks and stuff than the laser scanning of them all. And so they went into a slightly more mainstream direction regarding the quantity, and it's very hard to get consistent quality when you have so much of it. So that's, some people complain about that, some people love everything, I don't know. So I haven't tried it, and with the lack of time it's unlikely that I will. And then Jason Palmer asks what my thoughts are on the problems at Simbin. As you might remember, at some point Simbin turned into Sector 3 and there were some issues and all that. And the reason why this question isn't relevant anymore, because they've moved on and they seem to do quite well. But he asks, do you think they are not the only ones who may be struggling in an ever-crowded sim racing market on a PC? That's hard to say. It's difficult. The bar is constantly being raised with licensed content in Assetto Corsa, for example. And you know, I can ring Ferrari and ask, hey, can I use your cars in a game? And even if they say yes, which they won't, you still need the guys to make the content, and it's not unimaginable that it's difficult to sustain a sim. And yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't know if any companies are struggling or anything. I don't want to suggest anything like that. But it's not easy. But that's competition, and I think there's a market for whatever, even for a new sim, if that gets developed, if they get the right balance of features and go into a different direction perhaps than some of the current sims. I would like something like Live for Speed. I don't mind fictional tracks and cars, which would really sort of lower the budget required, for example. But it might struggle to sell enough copies because people want their licensed content. So it's quite a difficult market. And you know, way back in the day, you could make a mod for the first Geoff Crammond Grand Prix game, because all the cars were just sort of 16 squares which you could color, and you can sort of make your own liveries. But nowadays you need super high advanced Photoshop skills to make the correct skins, and the 3D models, they aren't 10 polygons anymore, it's all going to be very accurate. So the workload to create a game now is much higher than it was years ago. So yeah, it's continuously getting harder to, you know, keep up with the modern sim PC game master race stuff. So that's some words about other sims and my thoughts on them. Not going in too deeply because you don't want to steer into the pot, as so to say. Mention something about the various sims. I think that'll do for now. There are still more things to tackle and more questions that you've asked regarding modding and stuff, which will be more in depth. But at least, hey, here's a video again of me, I'm not dead, and here's a Q&A. And this was shot in 24mm wide angle, so this is my fist. Thank you for watching, guys, and see you soon. And I hope you enjoy these videos, even though they're few and far between. Bye bye. Where's the button? Where's the button? Where is the